Portions of America First are brought to you by Food for the Poor.
Welcome back, dear friends. Car Firearms is fighting for America. Car executives stand with America First and are willing to put their brand's reputation on the line to stand out for liberty. Please support our new Second Amendment Friday sponsor. Check them out, US-made handguns. I carry a 9mm car, KAHR.com. That's KAHR.com. We are back. It's Friday. It's national security, foreign policy with the Vice President of the redoubtable Heritage Foundation. Joined today, heritage.org, James Carafano. JJ Carafano on Twitter. Welcome back.
Nothing to see here. It's just a Friday. The world's fine.
Everything's fine. Hunky-dory.
Just great.
Yeah, okay. End of segment. Let's roll some commercials.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming. I'll be here all week.
No, seriously, other than an out-of-control border, Iran trying to assassinate American generals, China dissing the United States, North Korea firing missiles into the ocean. Get some popcorn. Sit back.
That's why he says casual t-shirt, no jacket, no tie. He's taking the day off because the world is so calm. It's so calm. All right, before we get serious, we've been working all night. Shad didn't sleep. He didn't sleep a week because he was been editing. We are doing a little quiz for Mr. JJ Carafano. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, how does it go? Tee it up, please.
So I discovered this random tape. I don't know where. I just found it on the street. It was somewhere in Brooklyn, D.C. or something. I found this tape, and I started listening to it. I recognized this voice, and I want to play a little quiz with you, if that's okay. I know you've worn a lot of hats. Is Music Fan one of those hats?
Today it is.
Today, at the very least. All right, so...
He looks very worried. Jim looks very worried.
The game is... Which member of Joe Biden's national security team is this musician? There's a lot of chances. There's a lot of potential.
Wait. No,
okay.
Just wait. All right. Go.
All right, here's the tape.
I took a look around, nothing to see, but then I finally found somebody like me. I wanted to tell ya, but I was so afraid, yeah. You said you liked me fine, but not in that way. Oh, was it
Make it
such
stop.
a crime?
No, he worked all night for this. We're going to make you listen to the whole thing.
Patience is walking around with you, trying hard not to hold you.
It's not Tom Petty. I know that.
Patience is talking till I'm
Is it Pete Buttigieg?
No.
Is it Rosalie, the telephone operator? No. Is it Sarge? No. Is it Henry, the mild-mannered janitor? No.
There's more?
Yes. This is the one he found in the deep, deep vault.
This is the...
It's all the same
This
guy.
is the Bee Gees face. This is the Bee Gees face. Oh my God.
What?
Oh no.
Woman's always on my mind.
Oh, my gosh.
Well, I must say, it is an eclectic mix of musical styles, and Taylor Swift usually doesn't come across to me like that, but I thought she was terrific. I could see why. I could see why Britney Spears is in receivership.
Military and technological power to seriously challenge the stable and open international system.
没有资格在中国的面前说你们从实力的地位出发同中国谈话。
So let me say here that in front of the Chinese side, the United States does not have the qualification to say that it wants to speak to China from a position of strength.
So
who is
this? Blinken?
Yes!
Really?
You didn't know that?
Oh my God.
That was... Ta-da! What's the prize? You didn't even tell me. What's the prize, Shad?
Oh, geez, I didn't get that far.
What do we got? Bottle of water, coffee, bad coffee? What is it?
To be honest, this is where you normally would say, "Oh my God, stick with the day job," but I don't know if I want to say that,
right?
Because I'm not sure the day job's going all that well.
For those of you who do not live in our peculiar world, what Shad did after Jen, our lovely warrior princess in California, informed me live on air yesterday. Have you not heard Tony Blinken is a verified Spotify artiste, and he's got albums and so I thought she was pulling my leg. Shad found the music, played it on air, and then he spent all night making that. I'm not going to get you to comment. I'm going to go to my old boss. Let's hear him. He was on Fox last night. Video cut 5. Play cut 5.
Did the Chinese ever lecture you or your people about America's racism problem?
We never had anything like that happen. That was an embarrassment. That was an absolute embarrassment to our country. I could not believe it. I couldn't believe the meeting, even the location, so many different elements of what took place when they started. And they went on and on and on. You know, they were supposed to have a very short period of time. They went on, and it was terrible. We should have walked out. Nobody ever talked to my group that way. Nobody ever talked to me that way. I can tell you that.
So, Jim, without politics, from the Alaska summit to yesterday's presser, how do our adversaries feel today?
Well, look, you know me, and I always said this on the when Trump, look at actions, not words, because these guys respond to what you actually do. And let's be fair. I mean, let's talk about Asia, because that's what that whole conference was supposed to be about. This administration has actually been pretty good. South China Seas, Taiwan, Hong Kong, Uyghurs, the Quad, this U.S., Australia, Japan, India relationship, where they've reaffirmed existing U.S. policy in the region. This is actually the analysis that people need to be focusing on. This administration, where they've actually, rhetoric aside, forget what the Chinese say, where this administration, and the reason why the Chinese are teed at these guys is because they're actually doing stuff, and where they stay closest to Trump's policies, they're actually doing okay. The further they drift from Trump's policies, the more problems they have. So compare the way our allies in the Indo-Pacific right now are relatively saying, "Oh, good, you know, it's kind of business as usual." But then look at the border,
the Middle
East. That they're just self-imposed wounds. So it is, the great irony here is that whether they call it Trump's policies or not, or whether they stick to the rhetoric or not, where they actually follow the lead of the last administration and do things that are practical, they're actually doing not bad. And where they've kind of said, well, we're just gonna do our own thing, they're actually they just screw up right and left.
And can you tell, Jim, that when they do that, when they move away from what was on the table, what they inherited, are they doing that because of a different strategic analysis, or is it ideological? Can you tell?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of, we have to do what our progressive mindset is, even if it's not practical, and what our people want. And a combination of, we need to do the Obama things because the Obama things were better. Even, this is really interesting, Biden even reacts to crisis the way Obama did.
Which is how? Describe.
So if you think about, first of all, deny it's a crisis.
Yes.
And try to ignore it and just hope it goes.
Play the label game.
And hope it goes away. And then when people address the crisis, when people get all excited about it and you're starting to pay point, and then just appoint a czar, distract him like a bright, shiny object, and hope the thing goes away. This is exactly the way Obama dealt with Ebola. The Biden response to the border security is almost a carbon copy of the same thing.
It's like when you drive a lemon, you don't want to admit it's a lemon. You buy another tub of Bondo, put some Bondo on and paint it and think everything's fine. We're going to continue with Vice President of the Heritage Foundation, joined today, heritage.org. Follow him on Twitter, JJ Carafano. I'm Sebastian Gorka. This is America First. Sadly, we're living under a Biden-Harris administration. What does it mean for your finances? More debt, more regulation, more money printing, less growth, and higher taxes. The importance of owning physical gold and silver has never been greater. Call the veteran-owned Midas Gold Group today to get their guide to owning bullion and coins. Call 480-360-3000 or go to MidasGoldGroup.com.
Portions of America First are brought to you in part by Young America's Foundation.
This has been a rough week, I think, for a lot of us. And I will say that, I said this to a group I was speaking with recently. Thank God for a free and independent press. You know, all these folks being down in Texas and here in California and at the border and giving the American public a close-up look at what's really happening as opposed to the rhetoric coming out of this administration. But when you see what's happening, it is heartbreaking. I love my country, and this is not reflective of who we are.
Thank God for the press, quote unquote, from Senator Kamala Harris 3 years ago saying it's so good to see what's happening on the border. Well, now it's a little different now that she's vice president, and we were discussing it in the break with my good friend Jim Carafano of the Heritage Foundation. You were saying it's an interesting phenomenon how policy in the last few weeks or days has changed. Why has it changed?
Well, they went from it's not a crisis, it's a crisis, but it's all Trump's fault, and we have to appoint Vice President Harris to fix all this. It's like, whoa, that changed fast. I give a lot of credit on this to the folks that have relentlessly been drawing attention to this issue, because despite there was plenty of press at the border when it was Trump they were going after.
Yes.
But now that it's Biden, they ban the press from the border. They don't let them take pictures. The reporters can't accompany them. They've tried to put the lid on the entire issue. And you've had folks like, Tom Homan, our good friend, and
Mark Morgan.
And folks that work with Heritage, Mark Morgan, Ken Cuccinelli, Chad Wolf. And they have been hammering this issue and not letting go. And then what happened? At some point, CNN, MSNBC, NBC, they started covering the issue, and that's when the administration...
That's what they couldn't ignore.
Right. They could not ignore it, and that's when the administration said, oh my God, it's a crisis. Not a crisis because they're streaming across the border. Not a crisis because the cartels are making millions. Not a crisis because we're importing COVID every day. It's a crisis because people realize that it's a crisis, and now we have to pay attention to it. And let's be really clear. Their idea of fixing the crisis is sending as much resources to the border as quickly as they can so they can have orderly illegal immigration.
Yes.
That's the fix.
So this is when I realized last week, when they said the system, they inherited a broken system, meant that illegal immigrants couldn't come in and disappear. That's why it was broken.
Yes, if we had a normal system, illegal immigrants, they would come in like a conveyor belt and we wouldn't be bothering them.
So right now we're watching the GOP senators are down there, Lindsey Graham, Cotton, and Cruz. Is this going to make any difference?
Well, look, I just want to remind people on what's going on. $14 million a day to the cartels. All that money goes to China, buys precursors for fentanyl, comes back, floods your communities with opioids. 2 million people will be in this country at the end of the year, all competing with you for jobs, while unemployment is at 6%. The COVID is coming up to, by some estimates, up to 50% people are COVID positive. As you can't hug grandma, and your community has to still be like that, and we have to worry about mutant strains. And they're literally importing COVID every day. If all those things together, not to mention what it's costing you, the American taxpayer. On day one, Biden said no border wall. If that to shut down what they're doing, the termination costs, because you got to pay people for the concrete and stuff, $2 to $3 billion. Yeah. So they're spending $3 billion to do nothing on the border. Right. Not to mention they're spending $1 billion on hotel rooms, and who knows how much on other things. Look, it's not going to add up to the COVID debacle, the bill with $1.5 trillion, and it's not going to be $3 trillion.
But hang on, Jim.
But it's not a non-trivial number.
But the infection rates. That could be a game changer.
Well, that could be percentages of GDP and states relocking down again because they are sending these people
them everywhere,
all over the country, right? Red states, blue states, and it's not just the numbers because potentially they're bringing in the new strains, right? And these may or may not be things that the vaccines can handle. It's the most irresponsible policy of any administration in modern history. Look. One, no other country in the world is doing this. No country in the world today has an open border immigration policy like the United States. Yeah. Nobody. So how can that be right? How can everybody else in the world be wrong and we're right? And the other thing I would say is look at what happened when Europe had an immigration flood. They stopped it. How did they stop it? They basically parroted Trump's policies. When Obama had a surge at the border, what did he do? He did things that were more like Trump.
I think that's your next article. If you don't write it, I will.
Should be in Fox tomorrow.
No other nation has an open border policy. So how can it be right? Follow him, JJ Carafano, Preventing World War III, one tweet at the time, and join the Heritage Foundation today, heritage.org. Thank you, Jim. I'm Sebastian Gorka. This is America First, coming to you from the ReliefFactor.com studio.